Good afternoon. This is the Townsend Finance Committee. We'll call the meeting to order at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. With that, and people are here in the room and by Zoom, we need a roll call vote for those on the committee that are here.
Carolyn Bezikas.
Mark Hussey.
Andrea Wood.
Sam Grant.
And Don Hayes. With that, it gives us the 5 members present, so we have a quorum, so we are set to go. This meeting is being recorded for playback later on the YouTube channel and is also being aired live on Channel 9. Okay, next item on the agenda, additions and deletions. Sorry, I'm just gonna share this. Get my computer shared. I can do this. Okay, there we go. Sorry, it's kind of like, so all that I'm sharing at this point is the agenda. And we're in item 4 in the preliminaries, additions or deletions. At this point, I have nothing to add that's not on the agenda. Is there anything else that anybody has we need to add to the agenda tonight?
I do not.
No.
Okay, nothing being heard. We'll go into the work session. And the first item is a reserve fund transfer. This has been requested by the police department. I did forward out by email
Got it.
if it's there, but I can also share it, I believe.
I actually can't read it, and I apologize.
Okay, no,
Like without my glasses,
okay.
It looks like a fire alarm failure.
It's a firearm failure, and so this is on the police maintenance account. They're requesting $4,620 to go from the transfer from the reserve fund to their building maintenance fund.
How much money do they have in that fund?
Hang on a second.
I was gonna say, what's that
Okay.
leave us for?
Hang on. Well, I was going to say there's two things that we have. Trying to find the reserve fund request. And I don't have it. So just back to the agenda for now. Okay, so in that account for expenses for police. 5240. They initially had 17,340 in the account. To date, they have expended 10,851. So that's the balance at this point is 6,488. This was as of November 15th. So I need to get an updated report.
So is this I'm sorry, was it 4,000 something?
It's
Is that the
4,000.
bill, the total bill, or are they
I-
taking some out of their?
I don't have the invoice, so
Uh-huh.
I think we need to go back to them and get the full
Yeah, is this a partial payment of that bill, or
Right.
is it the
Yeah.
full bill?
again, or did they pay the whole thing with the because there was a 10,851 was all in it says current month, so they may have paid it out of there and they may have depleted it down, so they're looking to do.
Or it could possibly be more than what they had in
Or-
there, and this is the excess.
It could be, but if they would have done that, I would expect that the line would go negative. And-
Okay.
And
Yeah,
we'd
yeah,
add back in,
yeah,
so,
okay.
they do have a second line for repair and maintenance equipment. That is about a third used at this point. The line following, so it's kind of, total, the total budget for the expenses for the police department, is sitting at, used at this point is 26% of their budget. Which if we're talking November, that's probably around the 35% pile. So maybe they can absorb it, but they have submitted the request. We will assign them, and to track it, what I had talked about starting to do this, so this is a transfer request, we'll assign a number. This is our second request for the year. If we add this 4,620 to the 7,200 that we, or a little more that we did
That
for
was
the
for
elevator.
utilities, right?
That was the
Oh, the
elevator.
insurance. Oh, elevator repair, yes.
The elevator repair
Yeah,
or upgrade.
Yeah.
That would bring to about 30, little 29,000 left in the reserve account for the remainder of the year, which is getting a little tight.
It's a little
So,
tight, yeah.
this early in the year, and we don't know if there may be a bigger budget item, more items to hit it. So,
We're doing our best to not ask you guys for too much.
yeah. Or next year we increase the reserve fund so we can keep hitting. It all comes to, the unexpected. And so I guess we want to go back and understand what's been spent to date. Because if this bill hasn't been paid and still needs to be paid after we transfer the money in, they're still at 62% used. So what is, it was what they've paid out so far, how they anticipated using it, and where it continues to go. So I think there's a little bit more detail and background that we need before we take this up.
One of the
Well,
things you should remember about the reserve fund is it's for unexpended or unexpected huge expenses at the end of the year when you don't have enough money to pay for them.
Right, it's just the beginning of the budget, but pretty
Yeah,
much.
and they
Asking
seem to have
already.
enough money to cover this expense.
My thoughts exactly.
It's not the beginning of the budget.
Well, not the beginning.
We're halfway. Yeah.
We're halfway. It's not the end.
It's not the end of the budget.
Right.
It's not in,
Yeah.
it's not in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And again, part of that was we were covering the warrant or the item that was on the warrant article for the repair.
Right.
So,
And so I know that we're still hoping that there's going to be the free cash certification, so we can put that request in to restore that to the reserve fund that's already paid that
Okay.
bill.
Yeah.
So that goes through, then the reserve fund will be whole
Yeah.
as of January 24th.
so does that need, it's probably too late. I was gonna say, does that need to go on the reserve or that supplemental?
No, we were going to just change the motion
Okay.
on the floor for the
Okay.
one that says to pay for
Yeah.
just to say, instead of going into the account that it says, we're going to not put it into facilities, we're going to put it into the reserve fund account.
Okay.
It's already been paid for.
We may have to and Andrea's my expert on this. It's kind of like, I didn't think we could change the accounts that it was in the reserve fund. I thought we had to replace the motion with a new motion that would
Yeah, I mean, there's a parliamentary procedure that we can do on the floor
Okay.
to enable us to
Okay.
put it back in the reserve fund. We'll just figure out what that is.
Yeah.
That's what's read out when that item comes up.
Okay. Okay, did I cover that properly, Andrea?
I think so.
I think so.
Your training has stuck a little bit. Okay. So I will send a list of the 3 items that we have for, for this request back, looking to see what's been expended to date, how it's been expended, and what the future looks like. A copy of the invoice, for the repair,
Mhm.
and then moving forward with it, do they think if this doesn't deplete the budget on that line item,
When
continue
it's
going
depleted,
forward?
come see us.
Exactly. That could be
Right.
this, where our recommendation to them at this point.
Mhm.
And
I think that the challenge would be for lines like that, they're usually not big ticket items. It's
Mhm.
usually nickel and dime items.
Right. Yeah.
And so there wouldn't be a thing they could come in and say, we need you to transfer money in for this.
It,
You
and
know,
again,
it'd be-
it may be a conversation, and if you could forward me email for the treasurer, I can send the question, because again, this section for expenses can, if we can go negative on a line and still be positive on there, we could let this line go negative at that point and continue. We have negative lines all over this budget, or all over the accounting lines that we have here. So I mean, lines can go negative and we can pay them. We just have to, at the end, reconcile the expense line for the police department. And maybe the rest of it, because it is a total of 328,000 in the expenses, maybe it can absorb the 4,600.
Yeah, that, again,
Yeah.
As I mentioned to you before the meeting,
Mhm.
that this one, I was only tangentially aware
Yeah.
that there was an
So-
issue that was coming up with
Yeah.
the fire suppression system that they were contemplating submitting to the
Mhm.
FinCom. I wasn't aware. It didn't submit.
I wonder what the issue was. I'm just curious.
Mm,
Is
Yeah.
it a ground fault?
A person,
That's
yeah,
not a lot of money.
it's,
It's really not for a fire alarm repair.
yeah.
You start talking circuit
right,
boards and-
yeah, exactly.
It's the system itself is working fine. It's something like the transmission of the signal
Oh, because it's
from the
radio.
box
Yeah,
to
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
So like the sprinklers will go off still if a
But
fire
nobody's
happens,
gonna know.
but nobody's gonna know. I think that's
I see.
that's my layperson understanding of what the problem is.
And the whole system has to be working. And again,
Oh, yeah.
they recommend that, they've indicated that, it needs to be, by mesh, that it could be a safety issue.
Oh, of
People
course,
don't- so
absolutely.
we
Yeah.
need to,
No, I'm not debating that. I just,
no.
they got the money, let them pay it. When they're out, come see us.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that could be, that may be the better way to go. We'll get more details and
Yeah.
then bring it on to the agenda for next
Okay.
meeting. As we have questions, and I'll go back, I guess the action from that line is for me to send the email to the police department and get more detail behind this request, and also email to the town accountant and see if we can go negative on this line and continue. Pay the bill, the invoice as it comes in, go negative on the line. On the maintenance line, and continue to move forward on the budget and wait until further in the later in the fiscal year to come back and visit it needed. Okay, that's, any further questions, comments on the
That
reserve
sounds
fund?
good to me.
Item 2 in the work session is on the next meeting dates. Little bit, we have our meeting dates. I will did not mail it out. I have the all the Zoom calls now, so I can mail out the dates that have been confirmed with TCAM. And we'll get that out. One of the items that we were going to do is training for the ClearGov budget software, which is ready to go. And so Eric, I will get you the list of our
The list of the
meeting,
dates so we can
Dates.
schedule them.
and then you schedule it.
That all be online or
Um,
most likely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so again, probably a Zoom call or.
I'll double check with them. I think that makes the most sense.
Mhm.
But I think, and we've done Zoom with them in the past, so I think that's the format that they use. But we're at the moment, we're just
Mhm.
getting ready to start scheduling the
Yeah,
training, so.
okay. Okay, so we'll, still look forward to that. In the meantime, just to parallel that, the, department heads have been preparing spreadsheets, as,
Oh, really?
as they have in the past. Again, the data is gonna be the same,
Mhm.
but it gets them in the budget, mindset,
Yes,
and,
It's the format they're familiar with because they used it last year, so
same one.
it was an
Yeah.
easy spreadsheet for them to fill out, and then hopefully, once we populate ClearGov, then they'll be able to, get trained on that, and
right,
their information will be
either
there.
that or their training will be taking their spreadsheets that they've done, entering them.
And
into-
entering them in.
Probably
Yeah,
into a
yeah.
test system,
Yeah.
and then.
Have,
We'll
have
see.
all the budgets been turned in?
Yeah. In
Oh,
some
isn't
ways.
that wonderful? Usually there are a couple stragglers.
Oh, yeah, there are a few stragglers, yeah.
Oh,
What percentage is in? How's that? We'll put it that way.
More than 50.
Okay,
More
well,
than
that's
50%
good, that's
is in,
good.
so that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're moving along. So they were only due yesterday, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Uh,
I knew I wasn't going to be able to do anything with them until next week anyway, but you always ask a week early, so. Yeah, for an extension, it doesn't affect me.
I was gonna say, build in a delay.
Yeah,
time.
build in the buffer.
Well, now that they know about it.
We knew about it anyway before they even guessed.
I'm sure.
So we continue, we're gonna use the ClickUp budget software as we go, so we're gonna get deeper into the budget season and before we get a look at them, unless we want to start reviewing spreadsheets.
Right.
So we can hit that for next week on the 17th. We have the meeting scheduled. We'll continue to,
We have a meeting the 17th. I didn't write this down last time.
okay.
so-
I got some of it.
Yeah, my fault. So the 17th will.
Right.
is,
Good.
The 24th is the special town meeting, and then 31st is our next meeting after that, and then February 7th.
They're all at 4, other than the
They're all at
town meeting
4. other than
on a
our meeting.
Tuesday.
Yeah. At this point, I don't want.
Eric, did you bring up the early start to the special town meeting regarding the school?
No, we hadn't gotten to that yet.
No, I was gonna say,
Okay.
that's gonna come up next. It's, as we move on to item 2 on the budget, the special town meeting is scheduled for the 24th.
Right.
Let me switch over. In addition to the town meeting that we've seen, we're having a supplemental special town meeting.
What?
At 6:55, so 5 minutes before the special town meeting that has been rescheduled, there is a supplemental town meeting. I am sharing the warrant that is now posted for this, and there's, I believe, 2 articles.
Correct. There are 2
On that
articles.
special, so, can everybody see, or should I blow them up a little bit?
You're gonna blow them big up.
Okay.
Got my glasses. Oh, thank you.
That's good.
Okay, so the first article is to see if the town will vote to approve, 300,000 borrowing authorized by the North Middlesex Regional School District for the purpose of paying costs and developing a feasibility study with respect to the Ashby Elementary School located at 911 Main Street in Ashby, paying costs of the owner's project manager and design services and the payment of all other costs incidental and related thereto, or take action relative thereto. The approval is expressly conditioned upon a vote to exclude the amounts required to repay the town's allocatable share of this debt from limitation on property taxes set forth, also known as Proposition 2.5. So Article 1 is coming in. It needs a 2/3.
So $300,000, is that Townsend's share of that?
No,
What,
this
how
is-
does this work?
So this is, so I think everyone who's aware of anything in the school district knows Ashby Elementary School is in dire need of some significant capital repairs. The district is borrowing $300,000 to do a feasibility study on the elementary school. So the district is taking on $300,000 of debt.
Mhm.
Because it's district debt, my understanding, and we're still, the town council is gonna look over this and make sure my understanding is correct, but my understanding is district debt is split among the towns based on their percentage of students in the
Right,
district.
Right, per rata share.
And so, you know, the $300,000, we would be responsible for our share of that every year, paying back that debt every year. That would be added onto our allocation.
That's for the study.
That's just for the study.
Yeah.
When
How
when
many
the,
years you talking?
I'm
Just to
not,
pay off the 300,000.
just about to.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
When the capital request comes to actually do the work, my understanding is that will be borne by a percentage of the students, based on the percentage of the students at the individual school. So because Ashby Elementary is 100% Ashby students, they would bear those capital costs.
So I have to ask, why does Townsend alone bear the 300,000?
It's not Townsend alone, it's
Oh, that's
district
right,
debt.
that's our share?
It's, no, it's $300,000 of district debt.
Okay,
Our share will be whatever our share is.
I'd like
based
to
on
know
the
what our
percentage.
share would be.
I mean, it's just based on the percentage of,
Right,
the,
but I mean, to put it out that way, it looks to me like they want 300,000 from Townsend.
No, that, you're including Pepperell too.
Right, so I
Right,
think,
but so-
so the question is, and as we prepare, how much would the Townsend portion of this
Right,
be? So if
right.
we go back and look at what the FY 23 budget was for each of the Townsend and the North Middlesex.
What
we
was
can do
that
that.
percentage?
We can do that ratio
Yeah,
and figure out how much of.
that's gonna scare everybody away. I mean, to me, it looks like you want 300,000.
ours is probably a third.
I was gonna say a
I'm
third.
thinking it too.
Absolutely.
Ashby's less than a third and Pepperell's more than a third.
Right.
So approximately, so if you think of it, if they're taking 10 years to pay it back,
Yeah,
at the rates, and you know, it's gonna be a little over 30 grand a year they have to pay back. That's unfortunately be a little over 10,000 a year.
yeah.
So it's in that realm of annual, of an annual assessment onto the budget, but it all is determined every year by the
Right, so
percentage
it
of the
could be
school.
different, yeah,
Right.
I understand.
So
It won't be huge.
it's not gonna be a huge difference. I mean, you know, 500 kids move into Ashby and we all of a sudden our percentage will go
Right.
down, but you know, the chances of
But when, if it was
that.
accepted, the capital again would be paid 100% by Ashby.
That's my understanding is that the capital for that building is paid by, and
Because
if it was
they
a,
occupy the building solely.
if it was a middle school, it would be based on which middle school it was, because they are
Yeah,
occupied
yeah,
by
yeah,
different
yeah,
towns.
yeah,
If it was the high school, it would, everybody would have to
Yeah,
share it, because it's shared by all the towns.
So
So,
was Ashby gonna vote on this 300,000 also?
All three have.
It also,
so
not
the
necessarily.
way that this works is,
That's why I'm asking.
the way that this works is, you have 60 days from the vote of the school committee to borrow to have a town meeting about it. So they sent us something on December 13th
Mhm.
saying, hey, we're gonna borrow this money. You have 60 days to take a vote on it. If you don't take a vote on it, you're saying your default is yes. So Ashby and Pepperell, yeah, so Ashby and Pepperell don't have any town meetings scheduled.
So they were yes already.
I mean, Ashby obviously was gonna be yes anyway.
So 2/3 is already voted, it doesn't matter.
It takes 100% to
Oh, it
forget.
does do 100, okay.
It takes 100% for debt.
All right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
the net burden on Townsend is going to be relatively minimal,
Yeah.
spread out over
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But I think the Board of Selectmen was concerned enough about it that they wanted to put it on for the town to know that this
Oh, of
extra
course.
debt's happening so we'll,
Jeez.
town council is going to review the regional agreement and make sure that our understanding and the representation of the school district is correct.
Mhm.
That, this feasibility is shared by everybody and then the capital is with Ashby alone.
Yeah.
So that's
I don't know, it just raises my eyebrows every time I
Right.
see the school want more money. I mean, I'm all for the schools, I really am, but oh my God, we need to get some control.
well, you're not going to be happy with my next
I was gonna say
with
that.
our conversation we're going to have after
Oh
that.
my God, it's just scary. I mean, the amount of money is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, they're
Yeah.
suffering from the same things that we're suffering from, which
I'm
is
sure they are.
much higher energy costs.
Is there any way
State
to?
mandate.
Yeah, I understand, no. it's
Yeah,
true.
I was gonna say that the town of Townsend is looking at,
Energy aggregation.
energy aggregation. Does it include the schools or does
We
it?
can certainly ask if they want to include the schools that are in Townsend in the aggregation, because that would include the high school, which is big,
Right.
and the middle school and the administration building. So they've got a significant number of buildings in
Right.
town. So we can certainly ask them if they want to get lumped in.
Mhm.
They could actually, if they wanted to, I don't know whether they've done it.
Do it, yeah.
They could, like, we just did, went out to bid for the
Mhm.
town's buildings for energy
Mhm.
to get a lower rate. So the town right now is only paying 15.5 cents
Mhm.
per kilowatt hour, where the Unitil rate is over 21 cents a kilowatt hour. So the town, we did that in the course of a couple of months.
Right.
So I don't know whether the
Mhm.
district has the ability to do that or has investigated that. They should.
Yeah.
But,
Will residents be able to take,
that's
involved with that?
stay tuned. Watch the one.
The one little glitch in that thing is that the rate may be lower, but Unitil still owns the delivery system. And they
Yes.
can charge you whatever they want for the delivery system. So your bills are not necessarily going to go down very far.
Well, they
must-
can't charge you whatever they want.
They-
Right.
Yeah.
They have to get their rates approved by DPU. But the bulk of the discretionary cost of the bill comes from what you're paying to the power supplier. So right now, the power supplier for Unitil is at 21 cents per kilowatt hour. The power supply for National Grid right now is at 30 cents
Yeah,
a kilowatt hour. They
Yes.
got hammered. But Ashby, which is on what's called municipal aggregation, which is what we're proposing, which is there's going to be a presentation at the Board of Selectmen meeting next week on. Ashby's municipal aggregation rate is 11, like 11.6 cents per kilowatt hour. So they're paying half for their power of what people in town.
Mm.
Yeah. Boy, we need to jump on board.
So that's why we're trying to do it. So there'll be a presentation at the Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday.
I was gonna say that.
And then we're working to get, we have a proposal from a solar company to come in and put solar canopies at a few sites in town so that all of the town properties would be powered by solar.
Nice.
So then we don't have to worry about Unitil at all.
Mhm. Right.
I mean, we don't be on the grid,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
but yeah,
Okay.
bless you.
Thank you.
Good news.
Okay,
So just
so,
keep the good news in mind when I tell you what happens in the next.
Yeah.
So
so we'll take,
that's the first
that's the first article.
article. It's about
May
that.
I ask a question? Is this going to be a short-term borrowing?
The information that we got from the school district did not include that information. So they didn't give us I don't think they've gone out to bond it, so I don't even know if they know. But
So
they
this is
didn't.
just a guess at what it'll cost?
They know what the feasibility study will cost, which is $300,000.
How
But
do
they-
they know that?
Because I think they've gotten proposals for the feasibility study.
All right.
But
You-
But
But
they-
you don't
they-
know for sure.
well, I guess what I'm saying was they haven't told us what kind of borrowing they're going to do for it, whether they're going to do it in a short-term ban or a long-term bond, or it's going to be 10 years or 20 years. they didn't give us that information.
Yeah, well, my concern overall is this happened in the middle of a fiscal year.
Yes, it
And
did.
if it doesn't cost 300,000, if that was just a guess at what a study like this would cost, and not exact, then the money that's left over at the end of the fiscal year will just go into free cash or, whatever that's called, E&D.
Yeah.
Diversion or-
Into their extra funds.
Right. And they will have gotten, in the middle of a fiscal year,
Raise.
a raise.
Yeah, and so I think that's definitely something to bring up with if folks are going to school committee meetings, we're talking to school committee members. I mean, that the borrowing vote happened up a month ago, so we didn't have any notice of it, didn't know it was coming, didn't even find out about it until after it happened, so.
I
I'm
realize that.
reacting.
Excuse me, the town could vote this down and that would shoot the whole thing back in the well, wouldn't it?
That would be my understanding.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall under that 2/3? Like,
No, the
if,
understanding is that borrowing requires all of the,
Because if that was the
I
case,
think-
no sense in bringing it up.
Yeah, I believe the two-thirds vote is related to this article as it applies in Townsend, that 66% of.
so, I'm sorry, not the 2/3, I meant 2 towns.
One
I
town
thought if
should-
two,
Yeah,
if
right,
two
right.
towns vote for it, it didn't matter what we did, if 2 other towns voted for it.
so I think that's the general rule, but my understanding is with debt, it has to be unanimous.
Yeah,
Again, these
Okay,
are
thank
things
Good.
that we're asking town council to clarify before the town meeting, so that we'll have the more clear answers.
Okay.
on the day.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, because I'm not clear on it myself, thank you.
A little more detail maybe next week. And
Hope
we'll, because at this point, we probably don't have enough detail to put together a recommendation.
Do you
from-
think we could ask
But the way,
member-
we have
one
it
of our
set up,
school
it's for
committee
2,
members to come?
We can send an invite.
Thank you.
the way we have it set up right now, there's 2 parts. It's got to be voted on and passed at town meeting. And the vote at town meeting says additionally, at annual meeting, an override has to be voted for. It's a 2-part vote. Both
Yeah.
parts have to be voted and passed.
In other
So
words, they
even if
won't be
it
able
votes,
to
gets
take an
voted on
action
at
now.
town meeting, if the override doesn't pass, then it doesn't go forward.
So this isn't actually an override vote. It's just to
Correct.
accept what they did.
Right,
And then
the
all
override
you said-
doesn't come to annual meeting,
I see.
Well, no, the annual election,
the annual election, I'm sorry, yes.
not the annual town meeting, the annual election in April there would be an override vote.
I see.
And this override is not for the term of the loan, but a general override?
I thought it said for the term of the loan, yes, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's an override to pay our allocable share of this debt.
Okay.
It's for the term of the
It
loan.
never goes back.
Well, I mean, that's part of what 2.5 is.
Right.
You take it. Now, the other piece, and I had a very brief conversation with Eric, when we come down to the actual amount, if we take and identify, we could put a line on the bottom of our recommendation that would explain to the town what the value per $1,000 would be if they vote for it.
Right.
So that they have a very clear, so that we don't put out something like average house price is this, so the tax.
Right. It's just like we did last time, when whatever override we tried for, we did that. So that
Right.
they knew how much their home would cost them.
Right, and we had, there was a table with a range.
Yes,
This would
yes,
be,
yeah.
this would require maybe a little bit.
Yep.
Of multiplication in there.
Yeah.
In their heads to get there, but, or we could throw a couple of examples.
Yeah, I think putting a range with a couple of examples, if
But either way-
your current tax bill is X, current property value is Y, this is what
Right.
your
This is-
increase would be.
So at least it gives them, it gives people attending the opportunity to see what it will be.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions, regarding Article 1 on the supplemental?
No,
Okay.
We had to name it something different. We already have a special town
We
meeting.
have
that
it.
night.
Special permit.
We almost did that, but then we thought
Yeah,
that had a little, we could.
A little, yeah, look at- it's New England. Okay, then moving to Article
remind
2.
me.
To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey a fee, simple or lesser interest on the land or building there known as and numbered as 97 Main Street, shown on the assessor's map 34, block 38, lot 1, or in any portion or portions thereof, together with the interest. I'm just gonna skip the.
Pertinent there too, yeah.
Yeah, are pertinent there too. Pretty much, this is the building on Main Street across from Harbor Auto Body.
Yes.
Yeah.
That used to be a carpet store at one time.
So if I
And-
could just give a little
Yeah.
bit of background on this. So this property was identified a while ago, actually, as a 21E contaminated site by Mass DEP.
Gas tanks, was it a gas
I
station?
think it was a gas
Yeah.
station and
Earlier.
historically, that's it. And so there's some petroleum and other contaminants in the ground. The former owner originally was working with DEP. So there had been some preliminary compliance work done with respect to the 21E designation. And I think there are actually test wells out on the site to try to watch the migration of the plume. And then the owner disappeared. And the property started to fall in disrepair. And I obviously wasn't here at the time, but the town in 2020 made the determination that because for unpaid taxes, they were going to take the property. The town is now the owner of the property. That brings with it some complicating factors, which is you don't want to be an owner of a 21E property because 21E is a strict liability statute, which means if you're an owner and you touch it, you bought it, which means any owner, whether they cleaned it up, whether they made it dirty or not, is responsible to clean it up. So there is an exception under 21E specifically for municipalities that take properties for tax title. And that is they have to demonstrate that they are continually trying to sell the property. So we need to put this property out for sale so we can demonstrate to the DEP that we have no intention of keeping the property and using it for municipal purposes, that our goal is to sell the property. We only took it for back payment of taxes.
Yeah.
That is why we're asking the town to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sell it, so we can just put it out for sale. Even if no one buys it, it still is a benefit for the town because it keeps us off the hook for the strict liability for cleanup of that property. And you never know, maybe someone will buy it. I don't know what the cleanup cost would be, but it's possible that there's a person that would want to buy it and is willing to absorb the cleanup costs. I mean, costs of real estate on 119 are not small, you know.
A couple of dozen.
So, that's it. It's a relatively simple. Those are the reasons.
Yeah.
why we're-
That's right. And I will say that from the town properties committee, this did not come up in the town properties recent meetings, so there's nothing that town property would add to this at this point. This is strictly, and again, town properties is an advisory board. Selectmen don't have to take the recommendations from the town property.
Yeah, given the,
Given that.
It only
the
makes
reasons
sense
for
to
doing
do
it,
it, yeah.
it makes sense
Yeah.
to do it. And it's, you know, it runs the potential of getting this back on the rolls as a taxable property.
Right,
Yeah.
eventually somebody may,
Yeah.
Somebody may be, you know, looking to do it. It's kind of like, maybe there is somebody who lost
It
it.
is possible to clean it up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a matter of finding the plume and hollowing out the soil and
Mhm.
preparing with plain fill. And it's
How
possible.
big is it? The property?
It doesn't go too far back past the sides of the building. That, I know there's a lot of properties along 119 there that are
Mhm.
larger than they look, but this one is not. It might have another 20 or 25 feet of a rear lot. My memory serves,
Mm.
but it's not a big lot.
Has it affected other properties?
So it's mostly frontage.
Yeah. I mean, the properties, the width of the frontage and the depth of probably 100 feet from the street. So not a huge. There's not a huge back behind that building.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just calling it up just to see if we.
The answer as to whether it's affected other properties is hard to tell because as far as I know, there hasn't been an entity monitoring the plume since the former owner disappeared.
Mhm.
So somebody would have to hire an LSP to come in and
Yeah.
evaluate where the
The tanks are probably right at the street.
oh yeah, I'm sure the
Yeah.
tanks are in the front part,
Yeah.
but also the plume flows towards the river, I
Yeah.
mean the harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's flowing anywhere, it's flowing under the road,
The road, yeah.
which is not great,
Right.
but not into somebody else's
Correct.
Yard.
Yeah.
or somebody's well, either way, the goal would be to have somebody.
Fine.
So I'm looking at the property, it is 49 feet of
That's the
frontage.
building though, right?
Oh, that's, yeah,
Oh.
probably.
You have to look at the GIS. I don't know if you can get to the GIS from that.
Yeah, that's the building.
Yeah, I don't know where the GIS.
It's a total of an acre, so,
Huh.
yeah, so
Helps
what's
just a little bit.
so it,
Would we value that at?
total 175.
175. So
Yeah.
my guess is
For 50.
it'll cost more than that to clean it up.
Oh, yeah. Well, who knows how big the plume is, like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah,
you know?
but that's just a guess.
Yeah.
Either way, the only goal of this warrant article is to
It's the key.
Yeah, no, it's a good deal.
get ourselves off of the strict liability and keep the timeline going until we can.
I was gonna say, try to save that.
Yeah.
Save from having to do an override to pay for.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's just what we need, right?
Yeah. Okay.
DEP order to clean up the property.
Yeah. And it's not on the list.
So that's the second one.
That's the second article. Any additional questions? On the phone? Okay, do we want to, vote on this, for, recommending that the town approve it, or do we want to wait and do all, votes on town warrant articles next week?
I'd rather do it next week, get them all
Okay.
done at once.
Then, because,
My opinion on it.
okay, that's the key.
Historically, we don't make a comment on these.
Well, it is financial, yes, no?
Well, everything is financial, depending,
Yeah.
Depending on how you.
But I would think that we could take a vote, it'd be fine, but I don't think it's really necessary.
Okay.
That's true. We'll talk about it next week. if it's on the agenda.
Absolutely.
And that's it for the two articles that are on the supplemental. In the other that we had, the main special town meeting, we still have not had certified free cash yet.
Right.
It is anticipated that it will be certified before the 24th.
It is anticipated.
It is anticipated. We have a meeting next week, so for the articles that we haven't done the recommendation for, and I'm just jumping over to the recommendation, which is Articles 5 through 11. Do we want to hold that until we have
It's hard to make a decision without one.
without it? Now, in addition, well, Eric was out over the holidays. I had sent him the mail with the questions, but in all fairness, it's kind of like, I'm sure you had hundreds and thousands or thousands of emails. backed
Yeah.
up. I will resend the list of questions that
Okay.
we had.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We had, a list, looking for the details behind it.
Okay.
An example would be the 75,000 for the energy. It's kind of like, because in the budget, there are lines across 5 or 6 or 7 different budgets that have energy. So the question is it 75,000 going into one line, or are we taking 75 and
It was just 75 for the facilities line.
on the facilities only, not all?
Yeah, and that's
It's kind of like-
and that was that act was kind of reflective of the same thing we had to do at the end of last year,
Mhm.
as I'm sure the members of the FinCom remember, where we were $70,000 in the hole for energy. So that's the
Right.
reason why this is on there. I'm hopeful it's going to be less than that,
Mhm.
but my guess is that we're gonna
Yeah,
the energy costs have gone up. So
Mm, yeah, so again, but that was the thing, is it says 75,000, but it wasn't specific about an individual line, so we were looking for the details around.
okay, so if you send me the question,
Where it is.
I'll get them back to you and then we can talk about it next week if that's the
Right.
FinCom's
Yep. I think,
preference.
that would be my recommendation, to, review them once we have free cash certified. And the answers to the questions, so we'll, on the agenda, I would say, no votes at this point. We're gonna hold it and bring it into the meeting on January 17th. Okay, the other line here is the meeting for special town meeting is just a note that it's on the 24th and having been voted and adjourned on the 13th of December. So that's just a reminder of that meeting. And again, I will get the list of meeting dates that we start looking at the FY24 budget. And we can start identifying which of the budgets we want to look at.
So-
The meeting.
Yeah, so in kind of in regards to that, I just wanted to provide the FinCom with some information. I already mentioned it to Don earlier today. It's just some new information for everybody to chew on. There's nothing we can do about it at this time, but the superintendent for the regional school district presented his first draft of a school budget to the school committee last night with a 6.1% increase.
Oh,
So, I am anticipating a Prop 2.5 override for the school budget this year.
Mhm.
And that would be because even if they manage to cut that in half, it's a 3% increase, and I don't see how we can absorb a 3% increase, only raise the taxes 2.5%.
Mhm.
I just don't, we're already as lean as we can. I mean, there's just not doesn't seem to be a reasonable way to do it.
Mhm.
And-
Why it's so?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what he said. I mean,
Yeah.
to take it for what it's worth, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
he's suffering from the same issues that we're suffering from, which is they have their energy costs and equipment costs and supply costs have all gone up. They are having trouble with filling staff needs. They have staff gaps that they didn't fill last year because they cut the budget at the last second last year. So they said those staff needs still exist, even though they cut the budget for them. And he is looking at, the first blush of the requests from the teachers union and having to understand that hiring teachers is becoming much more difficult. And it's taking, quite frankly, more money to lure teachers to school districts than it was 5 or 10 years ago. Now, the school committee just thought, they're obviously, I mean, the committee members that I talked to are concerned about it and feel like it needs to get cut, but my concern is that, again, even if they cut it in half, that increase in half, it'll be more than the town can sustain without unfairly like gutting the rest of our budget, which quite frankly, I'm not willing to do. I don't think that's reasonable. That we should have to gut our budget so they can get a 3% increase. You know? That doesn't seem like I think rather than do that, it's more, they should put the
We need
school
to-
increase on
yeah.
the Prop 2.5.
We need, yeah. And see what they wanted. Yeah, and let,
And what do they do when it fails?
Well,
it,
that's a good
That's a
question.
good chance.
well, I mean,
People are up,
I think-
they are upset now.
They're not the only ones who's been hurt by this.
That's right.
right, it's kind of like, so you've got that, but we also have at the school district and the school budget, if the other two towns pass it, we have to go.
We got them anyways, that's what they're.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of like, so then, that's where the 2 out of 3 towns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to, this just came down last night, so I have to call the town administrator in Pepperell and see what their thoughts are about it.
Mhm.
There is no town administrator in Ashby right now. The town administrator in Ashby was fired a couple of months ago, and they haven't filled the position. So I feel as though they may be a little bit rudderless, but I'm hopeful that their board of selectmen will have some thoughts and about how they feel about it.
Mhm.
I don't see there's any way that all of the towns would require a Prop 2.5 override to absorb a 6% increase.
Yeah.
Ashby is in a
They were already
worse
running- yeah,
shape than
They were
we're
in
in.
tough shape last year.
Yeah.
With the school budget.
You know, and I anticipate, also, the other kind of note is our enrollment in the district has gone down 2.5%. So that means that Pepperell's enrollment has gone up 2.5%. So they're going to be facing a kind of a really stiff increase. A 6% increase for the budget is likely to be a 7 or 8% increase for Pepperell. And would likely be more like a 3.5 to 4% increase for us. Either way, I don't see, based on the conversations we had when at the budget summits that we've been to, any of the towns could absorb this without a 2.5. So they would all require.
Until next year. And what happens then? I'm just so frustrated.
No, I mean,
I truly am.
I think that the challenge that we're facing is, you know, like every other business,
If-
we, the town and the school district are faced with increased costs. And, you know, the fees that the fees that we charge don't cover those costs, like, you know, so that's, it's gotta, the only place we get our money, except for from the state,
Mhm.
is off of the, you know, the taxes. And I'm hopeful that the new governor's budget is gonna come in with some increases in local aid above what we've seen over the last years, given the surplus that the state is in. That could do some to remedy the problem, but I don't think it's gonna remedy the kind of the fundamental challenge that we have, that we have to reset the kind of the expectations of like
Yeah.
what it's gonna cost us to operate.
The limited revenue increase versus the higher expense.
Yeah.
Ratio. How do you
Yeah.
address?
And it's not like the town's been operating with surpluses
No.
the past few years, you know, we're balancing the budget, and that's what we're doing. And
Year over year, it's balance of the budget, use free cash to try to get by with things. It's kind of like last year, we did a lot of free cash to do some of the capital.
and that saved us. We're gonna have lower debt expenses this year because of it, but you know, we're not gonna be able to do that again.
No.
That was a one-time.
That was a one-time use.
The preliminary thoughts I'm hearing from Neshoba Tech are 4.5 to 5%.
They had reached out through Harrison that they would like to come and meet with us, so we can invite them.
So I've had email, I talked to Harrison because he's you know, he's on the school board, the school committee, so. So he's familiar with the numbers, and he and I have talked about it, but I have also been in communication with the superintendent about, you know, having a meeting with them. Because their budget is, the regional district is like the gorilla in the room, right? That's, you know, 60% of our budget is the regional school district, whereas the tech is
It's
5% of our
Right,
budget.
it's multiple towns.
4% of our budget, you know, like it's a very different, I can absorb a 4.5% on the TAC. It's a very different answer on the regional school district because it's so much of the budget. Anyway, so I just wanted to let folks know that, just to kind of chew on it.
Yeah, do you want to think?
I'm gonna go home and throw up.
It's there, and those are numbers, we're gonna start seeing things come in from all budgets. It's kind of like, you know, I
We'll
just.
throw it on that new software, maybe it'll look better.
Oh, yeah, it'll fix it all.
Yeah.
Well, then there's maybe the forward-looking pieces of it. It's kind of like, how do we?
How do we forecast?
Yeah,
how it's gonna
right.
work and.
Yeah.
It's gonna, as a certain thing occur, that things that are being paid by ARPA money have to be funded by our revenue.
Yep.
You know, ongoing revenue.
Yep.
Which is,
Bleak.
yeah, it's not bleak, it's a fixed amount.
Yeah, nothing.
So,
Yeah.
It's steady,
Yeah.
but not rapidly
Yeah,
increasing, which I think is
it's kinda
the.
Look back at those ideas of, you know, do we put a cannabis store? Instead.
Hey, there we go with that contaminated building there. Perfect spot.
Right there. All right, I will let you guys, folks, continue your conversation.
Yeah, we are,
Thanks, Eric.
well, thank you. It's kind of like, and I know you've got 6 o'clock tonight, so.
Seven o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What, okay, I looked at one that said it's.
Yeah, there was a misprint in the first agenda that said 6.
Okay. That's, yeah, okay.
Did you notify Veronica that Mark is the,
I did, yeah.
On the what?
I sent it to, Eric asked me when I walked in the building today.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, if we go back over minutes, I believe he was approved in the July.
Oh, to be,
To be on capital planning.
yes,
Kinda like,
yes.
So,
Has there been a meeting?
Not yet. Eric-
Okay.
yeah, they're getting ready to do it.
Okay.
It's kind of like, so Eric.
Yep.
Eric had, gotten that information
Sure.
just about 2 hours ago. So it's kinda like, so we're good on that. Okay, so that was all the items that I had on the agenda. I know it's not much and it's not a lot of meat yet, because we don't have numbers yet. I have been copied on a couple of the spreadsheets, but until they get into the ClearGov, it probably doesn't make sense to review them because they may change by the time we see them. So it's just those pieces. So I think we're pretty much waiting on the ClearGov
Training and stuff.
training so that we can and getting the data entered to hit that. So and so next week on the 17th, 4 o'clock again.
Right.
We will go over and confirm that we have had free cash certified and go over our recommendations for the articles on the supplemental and the special town meeting for the 24th. Is there anything else that anybody has for new business?
No,
I'm good.
Okay. That being said, we are on the final. I will entertain a motion for adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 5 p.m.
Second,
And we have a motion by Mark and seconded by Geraldine. Roll call vote.
Carolyn, yes.
Mark Hussey, yes.
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
John Hayes, yes. With that, we stand adjourned. Thank you all for.
Thank you,
Have a good night, everyone.
all of you.